what you do and how you can remove people from the country who have come here and have basically broken into it by paying a trafficking bank.
Okay.
But there's already quite a lot of cooperation in terms of securing the outer borders.
Well, just quickly, I mean, this idea, why not just have, like, British police on motorbikes?
Labour killed the Rwanda plan on day one, said it was immoral, unworkable, a stain on Britain. Fine. But what are they actually proposing instead? Listen to what's being discussed right now in Westminster, because it's so much worse than what they claim to oppose. British military zones, in Africa, with British law, British jurisdiction. This is what they're actually saying, and the working class should be absolutely furious about what comes next.
But with the Human Rights Act, you know, people protected from torture, for example, and it wasn't guaranteed they wouldn't receive that. I mean, I think there should be a sort of like city-state thing going on. Go to countries like Rwanda and other countries like that, create like a British zone, which is British-run, with British sort of jurisdiction, send people there. People can seek asylum in these places. And actually, look in the past, when at the end of World War II, Germany was rebuilt by Western forces. Other countries are rebuilt, like Japan was industrialised by Western forces, implementing democracy, creating a better country. We should be doing these things in the countries that these people are coming from. And actually, part of immigration reform would help do that. Create small British jurisdictions in these areas. People can apply for asylum there, and perhaps British laws. And I think that would be part of it. And it would help develop these places so there'd be less migration from these places as well. It sounds like a bizarre idea, but look, after World War II, we built countries. That's what Europe did. And we need something more like that.
Sounds like you want to revive the empire, Simon. You want to colonise the world again. Careful, your mates will be coming after you for that kind of rhetoric.
Well, I mean, look at Japan after World War II. We didn't say, oh, we've nuked it, let's leave. Actually, Japan has become a thriving economy. Look at Germany. We didn't go, oh, they're all evil Nazis, just like, you know, let the place fall down. No, actually, we got the Volkswagen, I say we, you know, the previous generations got the Volkswagen factories going again and made sure people had employment. It's actually British civil servants that created the German Football League system, which means they have cheaper football tickets than us. These things should be implemented in other countries to make sure people don't want to migrate to Europe and the West so much.
Yeah, I would argue, though, Kevin, Germany's and Japan, a bit of a different prospect to, say, I don't know, Somalia.
Yeah, very, very different. And if you think we'd actually fought our way into those countries, particularly Germany, of course, we would have done the same with mainland Japan if it hadn't been for the dropping of the atomic bomb. So in terms of trying to give the comparative first, I just cannot see countries in Africa wanting to return to some sort of colonial rule for all the reasons we can think of from the past. But where we can make a difference is being clear that, one, if you do make your way through multiple safe European countries and decide to just basically you'd prefer to be in the UK, it's because actually we don't think you have a desperate need to be here. And if you can't be returned to your home country or to France, then it's the third country. And it is really interesting to see where the US is going with this now. And as you've touched on, there's going to be some real drive here now from the US. They will literally be using some of our facilities, I suspect, and we can see why. Because there's only two countries that have really dealt with properly in the democratic world, out looking at third world or dictatorial countries, with this type of problem, which is Australia and the United States. Australia's model is one we looked at. The United States is following along. But it's interesting in the comments that, yeah, I think there's many probably in Labour now privately who think it was an absolute mistake to scrap Rwanda on day one, not to give it a go, to keep it going. And probably, I suspect, somewhere in there, we'll see some thinking going on. Of course, it won't be the Rwanda plan, the Tory Rwanda plan, but I think we might one day see something like a Central Africa plan suddenly come forward that might just happen to involve Rwanda. Because every country in Europe, the United States, will look at finding solutions for this problem. And it's the ultimate, how do you answer the question of if someone's come from a safe and democratic country to the UK to try and claim asylum that they could have claimed elsewhere, you can't return them to France, you can't return to their home country. How do you break that business model of the trafficking gang, which is then that they currently end up here anyway, even if you wanted to remove them, and that's where a third country will come in. But yeah, just buying a few ribs to chase things around in the channel isn't going to make a fundamental difference.
Well, something that could...
Minus
So some of the Eastern European countries, if they had a stronger border, then the people wouldn't be making that journey across Europe, which is also a dangerous journey. You know, that's another solution. If the British government paid sort of Poland and Hungary and other countries around there to have a strong... I know Hungary was already doing that.
We do already work with groups like Frontex, and of course that's the EU's border agency, and there's been quite a lot of fortification along the EU's eastern border. But you similarly to looking at the length of our coastline, it's impossible to completely fortify every part of the borders, and particularly in terms of the maritime border. That's why you then have to look at legal reform and ultimately what you do and how you can remove people from the country who have come here and have basically broken into it by paying a trafficking bank.
Okay.
But there's already quite a lot of cooperation in terms of securing the outer borders.
Well, just quickly, I mean, this idea, why not just have like British police on motorbikes?
So let's be clear what just happened. They cancelled Rwanda because it was colonial, their word. But the idea floating around now is British-administered enclaves on foreign soil, running British courts, British police, British rules. That's not a compromise. That's the blueprint they want to hide behind. And here's the kicker. This conversation is happening while they're telling the public there's no alternative, while small boat crossings hit record numbers, while taxpayers foot the bill for hotels. Labour promised a solution. What they're actually brewing up is something they know can't survive public scrutiny, so they're testing it in rooms like this first. The receipts are all there. Share this. Make them defend it. Because once you see what they're actually planning, you'll understand why they had to kill Rwanda quietly instead of fighting for it.